Welcome to the Crypto News. In today's video, Greg Foss shares his outlook on Bitcoin. In the long term, Foss believes Bitcoin will win out, but in the short term, he believes there are powers that want to stop Bitcoin at all cost, including his own Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
I am not bullish overall on equities. In fact, I reflect the viewpoints of a lot of the guys out there that are saying risk assets are overpriced and at risk of a major correction. I don't have confidence that, the powers that be see the world through the right lens. I don't think, if Powell truly understood the math of the debt spiral, the right thing for him to do would be to come out and admit it. But I suppose, he doesn't want to go down in history as the one that admitted that the USA is a horrible credit. That being said, it's the best crack house on a crack street, okay? The USA will be the last country to fail, but it doesn't make it a great credit. It's just the best crack house on a crack street, right? I firstly believe that Bitcoin will become the global reserve asset, not necessarily the global reserve medium of exchange. The reason is that I think U.S. Treasuries are on their way out, and that need to be replaced by a global reserve asset that's scarce, decentralized, hence Bitcoin. More importantly, I think there will be a day that Bitcoin is used to price global energy. I think the correlation between Bitcoin and energy prices is natural. As a guy who's, firstly an engineer and secondly thinks of energy and money, store of value of money is a reflection of your work energy, the energy you put into accumulating a store of value. It makes sense to me that natural resource energy should be priced in a form of money that I view as having an energy component, okay? To be clear, reserve asset, Bitcoin. Global reserve currency, we still need fiat. We still need the ability to do international trade using, non-barter, using currency as the means of transaction. And that's what the world benefits from currency. But currency is your checking account and Bitcoin is your savings account. I was an active participant in the fiat Ponzi for 30-ish years, okay? I got paid as a investment dealer trader when I was on what's called the sell side of the street. Then I moved to the buy side of the street, being a client of the street, and that's where I worked at 2 different hedge funds. And I'm not going to lie, I was well paid to sit in those chairs. I knew the fiat Ponzi existed. I didn't know the solution. I was not sold on gold. That being said, when I first was introduced to Bitcoin, I thought it was a Ponzi itself. It had to be, because that's what the press was telling me. But I did research. And when I did the research, I realized how beautiful a solution it was. And I think what I have is experience that'll allow people to accept, hey, he thought it was a Ponzi at the beginning too, until he actually did research. And I'm trying to promote the research angle to it. I got 3 kids, Joe. And I feel like an absolute schmuck that I'm pulling forward gains at the expense of my children, because our generation is too soft to pay our own debts, to face down the problems that we have created. So I'm out there trying to promote a solution that I believe is win-win. I don't want the USA to fail. A lot of people will say Foss is out there saying the USA is in a debt spiral. It is. It's not because of me. I'm just pointing it out, and we need to tell the truth. Why? For our kids. I've lived it. I've sat in a risk chair. You didn't learn this in school. They don't teach you this in school, because if they did, nobody would invest in the system, because they'd realize, oh my God, this system is a Ponzi. So USA survives. I want the USA to survive because it is the last bastion of freedom. Canada, good friend of the USA, but boy, are we moving in the wrong direction on certain fronts. So I'm out there trying to promote the only solution I see to freedom. Bitcoin is freedom money, and Bitcoin is freedom. I absolutely agree with that. Now, that being said, we are a community that is up against some established, deep-pocketed, and some would call nefarious counterparts across the world. I believe in the long run, Bitcoin will win, but I also have to be cognizant of the fact that there are people who will do everything that they can to stifle the progress of Bitcoin, including probably the Prime Minister of Canada. He just recently blamed the rise in civil unrest in Canada on climate change. I mean, the narrative just becomes so, it seems like it's so scripted, but there's enough people that still get brainwashed by mainstream media. You do a network transfer. Let's say you're switching a operating system at work from iOS to, or MS-DOS to iOS, let's say. On a Sunday night, you don't just come in and turn off your MS-DOS network and hope that iOS is running bug-free the next day. You run the two networks in parallel for a while so that you're able to ensure that, there aren't any catastrophic bugs. I believe that's what's happening with Bitcoin right now, that it's a network that's being run in parallel. And that it's not formally, there's no huge central bank that's advocating that. I just think it's happening. But I think there will be a time where they realize the gig is up and that they will have to run a parallel network where you have a global reserve currency. Could be the US dollar, and it would be great if the USA embraced Bitcoin. But that being said, there will be two systems, a process where there is lending taking place in each. And over time, it'll probably gravitate more towards Bitcoin as being the collateral, the purest form of collateral that collateralizes fiat-based loans. But over time, I think there will be, and this is my hope, it's an orderly transformation. And during the orderly transformation, the USA maintains its global reserve currency status, and Bitcoin moves to the reserve asset status across the world. Savings account, checking account. How do you borrow? I think you'd be able to borrow in both. What is the pristine form of collateral, though? Bitcoin. Well, if it's insurance, and I believe it's insurance, how come the price isn't reflecting it, Foss? And I'll say, yeah, markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. That was, I think, a Greenspan comment, but apply it to Bitcoin. There are a lot of people that don't want Bitcoin to succeed. What if the government is shorting cash-settled Bitcoin futures to suppress the price and then printing money to cover any losses in that trade? Is that a possibility? Yeah, 100% it's a possibility. Are they doing it? I don't think they are, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities that it could happen. And so then you get the confidence of the Bitcoin community over time. We're humans, and if we don't see, and I'm not talking everybody because there's a lot of the Bitcoin community that say 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin, but the truth is there's a lot of others that need to see financial performance of Bitcoin because they have a lot of their savings in it. Well, if they start losing confidence because the price doesn't result in number go up, right? Number go up technology is there, but number go up is open for manipulation and all these other things. I see that as a distinct bear case where people just give up hope. Now, the horrible thing is, if you give up hope in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was your hope because we realize how screwed up the fiat Ponzi is, that becomes self-fulfilling, right? Then you get all these dejected people in society, and that feeds the doom loop. Risk happens fast, and the solution always takes a long time to filter out through the process. So there'll be ups and downs. I really wish that people would understand that Bitcoin is still only 13 years old. I don't want to fast forward 13 years in my own life because, I'm fairly old as it is. I don't want my life to fast forward, but let's give it another 13 years and see where it really is. It is my belief that it is the only solution to the fiat Ponzi, but there's plenty of fiat people that want their fiat Ponzi to continue and would be incented to try and, let's say, suppress the price of Bitcoin over time so that the followers lose their conviction. I guess that's the first time I've heard that expression, get on zero. I always thought it was a misnomer. I know what get off zero means, and that's how I like to manage risk with respect to Bitcoin. And I've made this fairly public. I firstly am not 100% exposed to Bitcoin, and shame on me, but that's never how I've managed risk. And then secondly, and most importantly, with the asymmetry of the return distribution of Bitcoin, meaning the asymmetric upside, you actually don't have to be all in. in order to participate in a generational wealth opportunity. And so I have never actually advocated being 100% in Bitcoin. That being said, I understand the conviction. Gold, for example, is not Bitcoin's enemy. In fact, gold and Bitcoin are so closely joined at the hip in terms of why they exist, to hedge against central bank shenanigans. Everybody who understands gold understands the fiat Ponzi. And gold is only $10 trillion. I mean, we need to focus on the bond guys, okay? The credit guys, the people that are funding the fiat Ponzi. And that is a $400 trillion pool of assets that should allocate a portion of that pool to Bitcoin. Again, the world, there are no asset managers in the world that are 100% exposed to any one asset class. There are individuals that are, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. But the big money will never be 100% exposed to any asset. I've always managed risk on that basis. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm on zero in the bond allocation. But if you own zero in Bitcoin, you're taking an extreme amount of risk. And then when the boys and ladies say, get on zero, meaning get on zero cash 100% to Bitcoin, I think you're going a little too far to the tail risk side because, yeah, markets are volatile. Bitcoin isn't a risk asset. It's actually insurance. It's the opposite of a risk asset. But until that narrative catches on, yeah, you have to play it like you see it. Don't trade the book you want. Trade the book you have. And right now, Bitcoin is being traded as a risk asset. Full stop. If you want to call out an asset, my choice is calling out bonds. Bonds are what funds the fiat Ponzi. So, maybe we'll take that expression, get on zero bonds. For anybody looking to diversify risk, you take it out of your bond portfolio, you put it in to Bitcoin and other hard assets. There are a lot of influential guys that say it's Bitcoin or nothing. And, well, I like their conviction, but the world risk is just not managed that way. It is just not, and it never will be managed that way at any large money.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dan.